Yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F again. It's the night we hand over the keys to use. Get your talking points and use the hashtag T.N.F so I can see them in the very busy live chat. It's always a busy live chat on a Thursday. The judge joins me, Mr. Cairney, donning the new hoops, as predicted by 420 somewhere, interestingly, before we even went live. So, yes, the viewers do seem to know us a wee bit better than even we thought. But spot the new top. How you liking it, mate? It's looking good.
It's really nice, Boise. I was quite surprised when it came, and I fell foul to the same thing most of Twitter did. It's go one size up. Anybody that's not bought it yet, if you're not going to try it on, go one size up. That's the advice I'd give you. I had to take it back and get it changed just yesterday there. But anyway, it's a nice top. It's very similar to the 2019 New Balance tap, I'd say.
Yes, yes, I hear you.
We bit the Chris Sutton select tap with a black collar, mixed in, Boise, but really good. I was quite surprised they kept it at the same price. That's quite encouraging. Well, £70 for a football tap isn't cheap, but I think they could have done the old 10% and tap it again. So that's quite good.
Nobel Peace Prize, were they?
Sorry?
Nobel Peace Prize, were they? No?
Maybe I would actually, I'd probably just knight Peter Lawwell right now. But what I would do is I'd get a real sword and just no stop. I just go like that. Let me do it and I'll do it, you know what I mean? But I don't know if you've seen just very quickly, there was a behind the scenes launch video that Celtic seemed to think it's a great idea, but I watched it and one of the lassies was saying, she got asked about the kit and she said, oh, looking at the three we've got out, and she mentioned this one being a bit more plainer than the other two, so I don't know if it's got to be a wee radical away kit somewhere. I don't know. I've not seen them obviously, but she mentioned that this one out of three is a bit more plainer. So eyes open for a full house on that.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I think just touching on you talking about that, holding that sword there. Have you ever seen the film? Well, I'm sure you will, of The Dark Knight. The second Batman. Yeah. So the two boats. I'm pretty sure if I gave you that wee button to push me to sink the other boat, you would be the man to do it.
I was thinking, straight away, I'd press it through them. I'd just go for it, mate, unapologetically.
Oh, brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Anyway, we'll do all that good stuff. I forgot that last night. It means give us a wee like, give us a share, slag the lack of hair. Oh, what was it Liam said to me last night before we went live? He said, like, share, buy some hair, which I thought was pretty funny.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's no bad. That's no bad. But yeah, if you want to go to piesports.com as well, bus 1888 at the checkout, you get a wee tasty pastry treat. Enough of all that shite, Judge. It is back to talking about present day Celtic after a brilliant fun last night doing the first episode of the Under the Bonnet series with Liam the Punk Duck. You were saying before we went live, you really enjoyed it, and you'll be on in a couple of weeks. Mate, looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that, mate. It's quite good. I thought Liam spoke really well last night. It's good to maybe, like, a lot of folk just know us as just the guys that talk shite about Celtic for an hour, so a bit of background stuff, if they're interested in it, it's pretty good. I thought Liam last night was... Looking forward to John as well, Johnny Logan. I think the older guys, I don't mean it in a bad way, the older guys, they're a bit more interesting than boys our age, boys, you know what I mean?
Oh, I like that. We're not the older guys. Love that, Mark. Well done. You're already... Yeah, I like that, mate. I like that. Anyway, let's talk then about the big news story today, which kind of just came out on Sky Sports in the last sort of half an hour. The striker, £4 million offer apparently has been submitted by Genk, the Belgian side.
Wow.
I mean, I don't care how many installments it's in, mate, which it will be, naturally. I think that incoming of and the outgoing of Giacomakis has really reflected a bad bit of business from a Celtic point of view. There's been no benefit to it whatsoever, apart from we lost a guy at the peak of his powers in terms of age, who was scoring goals freely for Celtic, who gave us a real competition for Kyogo. And then instead we basically made Kyogo completely, far and away the first name in the team sheet because there was no other option. He brought 0 goals. And even when we do sell him, and if it is for £4 million, it means we've not even made any sort of markup, which I'm guessing was sort of where the eyes were on, mate. Do you know what I mean? When they brought him in, it would have been one of those, diamonds that they were going to make fortunes on, and we've not even done that. We've recouped we've equaled the money we undersold Giakoumakis for. Very underwhelming signing, and for me, one that represented really bad business. I take it you would be in the camp of, if there's any sort of bid of £4 million, no matter how many instalments it's in or whatever the loopholes, the clauses are with the deal, I take it you would bite Genk's hands off.
Oh, I'm quite surprised at that, boy. I would have probably took 1 million, if I'm being honest with you, just to get rid of him in the dressing room. Not that he's a bad influence, but I think we've got maybe 9, 10, maybe 15 players that are on 4 or 5 year contracts that need to be freed up to make, because you can't just have this squad of players that's just growing and growing. You need to get some out the door, boy. Saying for me that'd be good business for Celtic. £4 million, I can't believe that. That's floored me. That I would take that in a second, boy. Saying I think you're spot on when you said that transfer of Giakoumakis, and that summed up just how bad that recruitment at that stage was beginning to come for Celtic. Mark Lawwell written all over it, but I am staying with you, boys. Say £4 million. Any day of the week, and I don't care if it's got caveats to hear the moon. Take it.
Oh, it will. Oh, it definitely will. I mean, no doubt that there's no way there's £4 million cash coming up front for. He's not done enough. I mean, I think obviously there's something that from his time before Celtic, Genk could be basing this offer on. I certainly don't think it'll be based on his spell with us. And it was quite apparent when you look at the first half of the season, he was never at any point a realistic option, mate. It was never one that we thought, oh, I wonder if we'll go this weekend. You know what I mean? Even when Kyogo, obviously it wasn't his most prolific season, judging. There was spells, even the first half before Ida came in, where he was having dry patches, and at no point did I feel that was a realistic alternative, and we shouldn't be going into seasons like that. So I think with leaving, we have to look at what we do with that department. Now, I know there's a lot of focus on the goalkeeper department, but I don't know if David Lowe's going for the Mark Lawwell's old job right now with his Tuesday ticket, but he's doing a hell of a lot of scouting these days, and he has kind of went in depth in the goalkeeper position. But for me, it's equally important to get it right at the other end of the park, because what we have seen, I have held Kyogo accountable for not being able to adapt as I would like to a different system that's really been tweaked, not exactly radically overhauled. Let's be real here as well. He's had some fantastic moments, but I think as well, when you've got no competition for the jersey, that leads to form stagnating. I think it's a factor. I'm not saying it's everything to do with it, but I certainly think it's a factor. I've been pretty consistent in my view that not just Adam Ida, and I would like Adam Ida to join permanently, I really would. I want another, and I don't want it to be someone that we can say, well, he's third choice. He's definitely third. No. I want someone to come in with the same appetite to get in the first team like Ida will have. Someone who's told the jersey's not guaranteed for anybody here. And if that meant Kyogo dropped to third choice, and then by the end of the season was back up to first choice, that would be then on proper merit. And I'm not convinced we've had enough of that in Kyogo's time at Celtic. I actually include when Giakoumakis was there, who was bona fide competition for the jersey, but not treated as such by Postecoglou. What's your thoughts on the up front position? Obviously, with all going, we knew Adam Ida's someone we want to bring in. We knew wasn't in the plans. But with him, we have to go this year with 3, Mark. We can't go in again with a season where effectively it was 1.5 last year. But I mean, we cannot go in just with 2 either. I think if you want to be big here, think sort of not even ambitiously, realistically, Mark, for a club that's competing for titles domestically and in the Champions League 8 games. If you think we can do that with just 2 strikers vying for one position, I disagree massively. And for me, we need to get Adam Ida in ASAP. I think the guy would want to play for us. Stop fanning about. The money is there. Get it done. Get him settled as well with his future. I think that's a big thing. If you're on tenterhooks all summer, it's not a great vibe to be coming into the club. Do you want me? Do you not? How come this wasn't done 2 months ago when I left? When my loan spell? That's not a great vibe either. But I also think it's now very, very important that not just Ida, another also.
Well, I think, to your point, I think we got really lucky last season that we never seen Kyogo get injured, because Would you have relied on O for any period of time last season, boys? Probably not, even in the
No.
cup games.
No.
And I thought I was getting in February, March, thinking to myself, wow, we're getting away with this here. Game to game, I was thinking, we're getting away with this. And luckily, our luck held out. And I don't think you can do that again. I think you're going to need. I think we've got with Ida and Kyogo is. I think you got 2 first choice strikers there. But I think the 2 of them have got. They allow Celtic to be more fluid in their tactics. You know what I mean? I think the 2 of them are totally different types of players for different types of games. You know what I mean? And I think you've got to have somebody to complement the 2 of them. Whether that's somebody who can do a job, like maybe like an in-between kind of job, somebody who can maybe hold the line up when Kyogo's playing, or somebody who can run in behind when Ida's playing. You can't rely on 2 strikers, especially because Ida's 4 months there. They were probably the best 4 months of his career, and he's what, 22, 23, boys. So he's not played a 30, 40 game a season yet. So he's going to have to get up to speed to the demands of playing first team football every week. So that's going to take a bit of getting used to for him. So there's going to be games where he goes out of form. I mean, he's not going to be. You're not going to get 9 goals every 14 matches throughout the season. You're not going to get that. He is going to drop his form. So you're going to need somebody to come in, compliment him, put pressure on him, put pressure on Kyogo. So I think the biggest mistake you can make when you're in a position of winning is to think you've got players who are cemented into the first
Rest
11.
on your laurels.
Because you take, I mean, it's human nature, boys, to say that when you get, look at Greg Taylor, for talk's sake. For me, he's not the biggest problem at Celtic, far from it. But I think when you get players who know their first pick, no matter what happens, performances they go down. Now, I know Craig Taylor's seemingly one of the hardest working guys in the dressing room. He's always first there, last to it, you name it, all that kind of stuff. So he's working just as hard, but your performances they drop, boys. It's even in your work or not, boys. So you get times when you're a bit lackadaisical and all the rest of it. And I think Kyogo suffered a bit last year because I think it took a while to adapt, but I also think he did actually know for a fact that no matter what happens, he's got his shirt assured. I think Giakoumakis pushed Kyogo, and he didn't get the same pressure off it. We said since day one, a lot is did that. When they're good enough for Celtic, certainly no is a serious contender to win your title and win your cups and play in Europe. So the question is now, like, what profile do we go for? Because I think Ida is an upgrade on O. Probably not an upgrade on Giakoumakis, let's be honest, at this stage. So where do we go next? Are we going for an upgrade on what we think we've got on Ida? An upgrade on what we know we've got on Kyogo? Or another project? That's more the question for me is, what one of the 3 kind of scenarios is more likely? Is it, are we happy to have somebody who's going to be the next in line to be the next in line? Or somebody who's going to come in, as you said, and come in day one and say to the other 2 strikers, that's my jersey. I'm here to win it, and it's up to you 2 to get up to my level. Because I'd rather have that option, boys, than somebody who's going to come in and be the Scott Bain. You know what I mean? Somebody who's happy to pick up a few grand a week, happy to get some minutes, and I don't think we can afford a project in that position, because I think Kyogo's. I don't know if he's hit his peak at Celtic so far, boys. I don't know, last season was just a one-off dip in actual physical form, or whether he's beginning to kind of, he's hit his peak at 27, 28, and 29 he's beginning to, level out a wee bit. And if that is the case, we need somebody we can hang our hat on. And I don't think, as I said, Ida's probably going to need a lot of, I think if he signs, we're going to need a lot of patience with this boy next year. We can't be expecting goals at Ibrox and Tynecastle every week. The guy's no played football 30, 40 games this season. We're going to need to be patient. But at the same breath, we're going to need somebody who's going to push the 2. And the question for me is, where do we go with that boy saying? Know the player himself, but profile of player we're going to get? Because I think that's something that we should consider before we get into the market, especially the scouting network anyway, put that way.
It's strange that you say that, because the vibe I get often on social media and things from other fans is, we're not going to pay that for a guy who's going to be third choice. Well, why does it need to be defined? I think it should be 3 players going for 1 jersey. and the rank and file of the order of who's first, second, third will be decided by what they do at training, what they contribute once the games begin, and that's as simple as that. Obviously, injuries and stuff like that can occur, suspensions, and I get that as well. But I don't understand this logic. Like, oh, we can't draw someone in to come at the club of that quality because to be third choice, to be on the bench. What? I don't want a player who would agree to come to us to sit on the bench. So that's not the mentality we're needing. We need 3 players going for that jersey. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that shouldn't be now becoming something that's far-fetched. It shouldn't be something that, we could, 2 will be, a bit lucky. However, notwithstanding that, I actually do feel that it will be either Kyogo battling for the jersey, and it will be someone more of that project profile that you're alluding to, Mark. If there were to be a third striker comes in, which I think they've got to do, but I doubt they would go for a 29-year-old Kyogo, Ida, who's clearly coming in first team ready. I'm not quite sure of his age, to be perfectly honest with you.
But still
another one of that sort of, but they won't view him as a project, mate. They spend over £5 million.
You're right. I think, see, if you label somebody a project for day one, they're going to be a project. As you said, why should we be saying, okay, this guy is the third choice? Because I think you're giving that guy leeway that he shouldn't get. He's bought into with a Celtic jersey, so he's demanding the wages, so he demands the pressure to be put on top of him. But we're also giving the club an out to waste £2-3 million on another bio, another O. No, we should be demanding that these players that come in aren't going to be first, second, third choice. They're coming in with the same set of credentials as anybody else. Train hard. When you get game times, make a mess of it. And that's the same for anybody. If you start giving away free jerseys and telling folk they're third choice straight away, we'll see that label will stick. That label will stick. You know what I mean?
It's interesting as well because see when you're saying that there, I'm now thinking back to last summer and I'm going, what were the players told, the ones that we did bring in? Were they told that they were fighting for a first team jersey? Or were they actually told that it was going to be a case of, there'll be limited chances just now. You'll need to bide your time. These are our first picks. And to get in there, you'll need to do something spectacular sort of thing. Because the fact is so many that didn't manage to sort of even breach the sort of status quo, mate, is particularly when the going got tough towards the end of the season. They were fancied even less, all the recruits. Let's be real here. Were they given that message, mate, that come in, if you earn your spot, you'll get it. The jersey's always there to be won. I'm now beginning to think that wasn't quite maybe the message that these guys got. It's strange when you think about it.
No, you're right, because it would make no sense if they were given that opportunity. I think we all know that maybe 3/4 of them were signed by Lawwell Jr. and maybe Angie's okay, because I think Rogers did say they were down the line, quite a lot of them. I mean, why would they pull the plug? I don't know, but so you can kind of imagine that they've been brought in with probably the opportunity to try and impress the manager, but the reality is they were never going to be that impressive. They were going to push McGregor aside or Carter Vickers and Scales aside eventually, and it does kind of like. It does hark back to last summertime, because we could talk about this transfer window to hear the cows come home, but I think we're going to have a lot of work to do because of last year's recruitment policy. We brought in 9 players on 4-year contracts. We've got another 5 or 6 that are still on 3-4. We've still got Kobayashi and the rest of it on another 4 years left, and we've got a lot of dead wood. I mean, in terms of dead wood, we've probably got the biggest lump of wood we've ever had in our history. We've got the biggest money we've ever had in our history, but we went from a club that was signing 2 3-year contracts to a club that was signing 5-year contracts habitually. And for a distance, that looks great, but that only looks great if you're buying a 26-year-old who is quite frankly going to be a first-team pick. He's good enough for that team. See, you're buying guys who are 19, 20, wasting £2 million on them, £3 million on them, just on the hope you get 2 seasons and still sell the guy for £30 million. Does it work out that way? You see that your Matarellis, they're one every 50. You know what I mean?
Mark, if we're talking there, just like I think which you kind of agreed of, what was the message to these guys when they joined about competing for the jersey? And it doesn't look like it. It kind of contradicts all that by then giving these guys the 5-year deal, because that's, as you rightfully say, would be A 5-year deal is proper faith in
Yeah.
the player you've brought in. That's a strong statement of, we completely believe in you. And yet we're now speculating that maybe they were, when they were brought in, not really given that expectancy that you're going to be proper challenging for a first team place. It's hard to work out. It actually makes it look even the more messy that we've had that conversation there. It's a strange one. Obviously, the goalkeeping jersey is one that's obviously a hot topic right now. I don't know if you remember. It's not important what day it was. I can't actually remember. But the day Joe Hart announced his
February 18th,
retirement.
I think it was February 18th.
Wow, that's longer ago than I thought. I tweeted that day, just said, remember the date. Today's the day we knew we had to go out and get. It's not about my tweet or anything like that. It's just because in my mind I thought, wow, that's some notice period to have to get that replacement. And see, when we look at the striker situation, we've got one there that we surely, if we all think would be a brilliant addition, surely the club do as well, based on what his achievements were in Adam Ida, right? So that looks like a no-brainer that hasn't been done. When you look at the goalkeeper one, 3-4 months now already, if your date's right that you said. Nothing concrete. I mean, it should be worked out who the target is by now. And I'd be very disappointed if Celtic are right now still assessing options. I think the time for assessing options was the time from when Joe Hart announced his retirement. This is a crucial position. He's not just been our number one goalkeeper for the last 3 years, everything else he brought. And it'll be up to other guys to step up to that, and I get that. But what you also need to remember is when you've got a commanding goalkeeper in terms of his authority, the way he'll be vocal, that also brings a calmness to a back four. And a back four that has been makeshift several times last season, unconvincing other. I think out of form, Alistair Johnson, Liam Scales, who has punched above his weight, I think it'd be fair to say this season, and a Greg Taylor, who we all think could be improved on, if we're being honest, about the Champions League. So when you look at that, the goalkeeper's got to come in and also be supporting whatever that back four is going to be, and we expect new faces in that. So there is a big demand on this position that we're doing. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this one. And for me, I don't know if they're dragging their heels. We don't know as of yet. But you do fear the worst, that there hasn't been anything that seems concrete or with real sort of evidence behind it that that's the guy they've identified and they're all out to get him. It does seem quite scattered on the reports now. Many might say that's good business. And they might say we don't want our business to get leaked out or whatever. But having seen the movie many times, mate, the other worry is, have you really been as proactive as you could have been over the last, said, 3 or 4 months?
Well, I think the reason why you posted that tweet is because you know the answer, boys. You know that they'll be sitting their hands till summertime, see who's coming free, who's out of contract, see who's getting bought to replace the second choice, to make them third choice. And I've seen it playing it right in front of your eyes in full Technicolor. You've got the boy Kelleher, who looked exciting, and it just turns out that was a lot of fucking boulder dash. You've got the boy from Newcastle. I think that's just pipe dream and all. I think Celtic are signing guys that are playing 25 games in the EPL last season. And then the other boy, I think he's a free contract, and you go, Celtic profile, let's be honest. And as I go back to it, the reason why you posted that, boys, is because you know what's going to happen. See, this summertime, it's beautiful for the board because you've got the Euros, which is a big distraction for the Celtic fans, but it's a ready-made excuse as to why we're not doing deals. Oh, the Euros are still on. There's agents are busy, players are busy, and nobody's talking when Ukraine's still in the Euros. Nonsense stuff, nonsense. But I expect that, and I fully expect, as I said, for that day that Scott Bain starts our first match of the season. I think that's a nail on, boys. But what's worrying me is like you're seeing guys like Steve McGowan saying Celtic are now focusing on this keeper he's not wanting to know that guy. And you go, right, okay, so we're now in the middle of June, 4 months after Hart told you. We've waited this long before we've found out our first choice target. Why was that not found out on probably February the 20th? It only takes one day, I'm sure, keepers in their price range, availability, that can be narrowed down with somebody on a night shift. Let's be honest, boys. It didn't take 6 months to go and travel to watch a guy playing 14. This is a 1991 anymore, boys. You can get all the metrics you want on a laptop. So I just find all that just rubbish, boys. And I think our full transfer policy is scattergun. I mean, I think the Celtic, they keep their lot of stuff in-house, but a lot of it's no. They know they tried to get certain players that fell through. Because you hear it on Twitter and you hear it 5 years later, they talk about it, somebody will talk about it. So they leak stories, you know what I mean? And I think Celtic will do their usual kind of like keep us all guessing and bring in somebody, and we all know it'll be a free transfer. And as you mentioned, Scales and Taylor, that's your back four next season. Let's be fucking totally honest with ourselves here. That's nobody's replacing Taylor, Carter Vickers or Johnson next season. That's your back four with maybe that that centre back we're looking at, probably the free transfer, McKenna. You see where I'm going here? It's a familiar theme here. But anyway, I think the goalkeeping issue, Joe Hart said in his interview, look, I wanted things to be made clear to the fans, clear to the club, so they've got a proper chance to come and look at the market. But obviously, see if they're finding out in the middle of June, who the number one target is. Somebody's fell asleep again. Surely to God, I mean, when the season finishes, the day after that, there'll be a season review by the board and chairman, scouting department and management about the season just passed and then the season up ahead. Targets in mind, budgets and everything else. Celtic's budget's already set out there. Look at Champions League qualifiers. They're all there. We've got the money guaranteed. So there's no qualifiers to negotiate. There's no if, buts and maybes. All your money is more or less guaranteed.
That used to be the go-to argument, Mark, as well, didn't it?
Yes.
It was. We couldn't gamble because we might not qualify for the Champions League, so we couldn't, risk it because we know how notoriously difficult they are. Yeah, this will be our third year of automatic qualification.
And we've got worse each window.
Yeah.
I mean, if I looked at we spoke in Jota's last season, we spoke about the start of the season, we said, is this team better than the season before? We said no. Last season we said, is this team better than the season before? We said no. And this is 3 windows that we've had guaranteed Champions League football. This isn't if, buts and maybes. We've got a season ticket sold out. Hospitality sold out. You can't put a name down for it. They're refusing names now. It's that much sold out. And you wonder yourself, I mean, nothing will change until things change. You know what I mean? Until hopefully I outlive Peter Lawwell. That'll be the greatest day of my life when I outlive that guy. If I'm being totally honest with you, the day I see a new Celtic, he's not there. I hope you're watching, Peter. And I think we'll always get back to the pod another day, but I think it's quite healthy for us to be a wee bit looking under the skirt when we're winning titles, boys, because too many folk are getting a bit giddy. And I've seen podcasts already quote the Euros, quote Celtic are doing their hard work behind the scenes, how confident they are the board's going to turn it around this season. And the only thing that's changed is the phrase you said, musical chairs. Mark Lawwell's out of the building. You probably find the next guy in is probably going to be Gordon Strachan's cousin or somebody like that. There's no way they're sitting. In fact, let's put it this way, right? So Mark Lawwell put his notice in February, March as well. And we're now 11 days into June with a new squad to build. Let's be honest, boys, a new squad to build. Season 4 is a new squad. And we've still got somebody who's supposed to be the spearhead of that recruitment. And you go, where is the focus there? Where is the focus? Because nobody's mentioning this, the fact that the biggest job in terms of recruitment, he's left. And he's not been replaced yet. There's been no links for anybody. There's been nobody come in.
Do they want a replacement?
They probably don't, boys, because Peter's already there.
It's musical chairs, mate. And then when you bring in a new face, it was someone already in your family and things like this, which is what do they call it, nepotism. And then the last one in is the first one out, and the scapegoat, and they go back to their merry band again, and it's back to the same faces, mate. Mark Lawwell's a new face, and now he's gone. And it's like, now you're back to where we were, literally, like Rodgers first time around. It's the same guys, really, apart from Lee Congerton, who, incredibly, when you're a Celtic fan, we managed to put most of the blame for any dodgy transfer on him. I don't know if you've had a look at his record, mate, since he left Celtic. I don't know.
I think he's seen on Serie A now.
Yes, he's at Atalanta.
And they just won the cup. No, they not won the
UEFA Cup. UEFA Cup.
UEFA Cup, they won.
The signings he's made there were brilliant. I think the club he was at in between that as well. His record's phenomenal as well. It's like and he said it was an interview sort of piece. It was a longer piece. It was quite interesting, and he said about Celtic the barometers or whatever it was, some word like that of working at Celtic. You just simply aren't able to spend the money, and it's like, and he's telling the truth. Now, Lee Congerton is a problem for the Celtic board, not an addition to what Celtic are trying to achieve. He's a problem for them because he's going to suggest guys like Piccini. He's going to suggest Castagne. He's going to suggest, players that are going to cost you upwards of £5-6 million. They don't want to go into that world for whatever reason. I just hope, and it's a hope, there's not a belief, Matt. Let's be real here. It's a hope this time around that after the 9 signings last summer of all the same sort of vibe, strategy, and none of them having any impact, none of them influencing outcomes when it came to the nitty-gritty, that surely even they must go, it has to change a bit here. Because actually, we've now got 9 guys. Let's think how they'll look at it. They won't be thinking about, we won the league anyway, so it wasn't like it was that bad. But they'll now be looking at contracts, payoffs, resale value of these guys, and that'll get them maybe their attention, mate. That's what I'm hoping. But it's a hope, not a belief.
I think you're right. It is a fucking hope. I think you're right. They'll be looking at these players and saying to themselves, we've got a lot of Deadwood there. We've got a lot of cabbages. You know what I mean? And this is just that. You'd think that they're saying to themselves, we've got, as you say, 300 grand a month tied up in Deadwood. Let's learn for this and try and lessen the players that are only making an impact. You know what I mean? But I don't think they will, boys. I don't think they will, and you know the reasons why. I don't think they will. They'll sit back with a cigar at Hampden on the 25th of May there and say to themselves, we told these fans, we told them all, look at us, we're brilliant. I don't think they'll say, thank fuck Kyogo made it. Thank God Joe Hart pulled off a season in his life. Thank God we had guys like Carter Vickers at the right time. McGregor put his socks up towards the last couple of games. They'll not say that, boys. They'll just say, look, we built this squad. We told you. I don't think there's any self-awareness in that boardroom whatsoever. And just quickly, we mentioned Mark Lawwell there, and it came into my head. Look how quickly they sacked Don Mackay. 10 weeks, right? This boy who ran Celtic into the ground, he played Celtic like he was playing the PlayStation in his pal's bedroom, and they gave the guy garden leave on full pay instead of sacking him. And the reason why he didn't get sacked is because his name's Mark Lawwell. You know what I mean? No, because if he was MDL's boy saying, just come out of my head about Don Mackay. Maybe Don Mackay was a bit like Lee Congerton. Maybe he saw a bright future for Celtic and didn't fit into our plans. I think, we're probably going to be the only pod that's going to talk like this month. Do you know what? I'm glad because I've been surprised with a few of them recently. They're beginning to delve into the Axel mold where they're wanting access, and that's fine. You're not going to get us behaving like that. We'll speak the truth about the board, etc. And do you know what?
It doesn't always need to be negative, though. This is the
thing.
It's an honest viewpoint we're giving.
I don't think me and you are being negative at all. I think me and you are totally. I mean, we're being realistic here when it comes to the keeper and the strike force, and yes. I think the keeper is very, very important. I think if you can get somebody who's as commanding as Joe Hart, I mean, he was a second captain for me. Having Carter Vickers, but he always felt a bit safer when Carter Vickers was in that defence, no matter who we're playing. I thought Joe Hart always held his back line no bad enough. I thought he was always talking to his defenders.
That's what I was saying earlier. That's what I was saying. It's so important.
It's so important, mate. I don't think we can afford to be sitting in June the 13th saying, right, who's our number one target here? Because we've no replaced Lotwell Jr., who's supposed to be heading up these things. So if he's not been there, he's on guard. So who's pinpointing these players that we've been linked with? Surely we're not. No, what's worrying me, boys, is the fact that Scott McKenna said yesterday in the Daily Record, "Well, I'm up for Celtic." See if that makes us go.
Oh yes.
But see if we go at that. Well, what was that? And sign him. That tells me and you that there've been no plan up until the now.
Well,
we should have firm plans. But if somebody pops up, go for them. Yeah. If somebody pops up, you go, "Oh, I'll take you." But you should have gone like that. What was that, Scott? Oh, see if we sign him. That is going to send a message to me and you. Well, one, it's a cheap, free option, Kelsey free. But two, there was no plan in the first place. It was always sit back, watch it all play out, and we'll pick half the scraps, a la Celtic.
Do you know what though? They could also though sign McKenna and say we got exactly who the manager wanted, albeit it was 5 years ago. They could technically, say what's the problem?
Well, it's a 5-year wait. You know what I mean? It's like
it's still Brendan Rodgers, right? Say it's still Scott McKenna. It's a player he wanted. We got him.
Well, hopefully we get Castagna next month.
Aye.
We'll never know luck. But did you get my point a wee bit, boys? See if he's popped. Unless I don't think he'd mentioned Rangers if he spoke to Celtic 2 months ago. So that tells me that if he does speak to Celtic, it's became after the back in an interview in the Daily Record or whatever. And is that how we should be scouting our players, boys? Folk just saying after cuff, "Oh, I'd come to Scotland." No, we should have choice 1, choice 2, choice 3 in every single department that we want to, every area of the squad. And we shouldn't be, unless for talking sake, Kieran Tierney for talking sake turns around and says, "Look, I've been offered Sheffield United, but do you know what? I want Celtic. Make a phone call for me, please."
But do you know the best bit about that one? The best bit about that one, mate?
Aye.
He would be the only one they would spend £10 million on. Do you know why? Because they'd say it was actually 15 million banked.
And you know something as well?
That's the only reason why they would spend that.
There's something missing too on that one. Celtic's probably got a 50% sell-on clause, so the deal wouldn't be. It'd be only £7 million. It'd be £7 million. They pay the £11 million or whatever, something like that. Or they tell the fans it's £10 million. They don't know the difference. You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
I tell you something. I'm just so quick on Kieran Tierney. I think if we did sign Kieran Tierney, it won't happen. I think we'd be nailing on Greg Taylor for 30 games a season at Celtic because he's too injury prone.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather go for somebody with less quality, but is going to give you 45 games a season at a very high level rather than world class.
See, to play devil's advocate on that, mate, right? See, when you actually think about that, we've had years to get that guy. And quite clearly, we've not been able to identify one.
Yeah.
I know we signed. So maybe it is a case of going, do you know what? He has had his injury problems, but if you've got him for the big games, fucking hell, you feel that defence, I mean, instantly increases in quality, mate, tenfold. And I think that would be my argument to that, if you know what I mean, just because that guy you're talking about, I'm not quite sure Celtic can pinpoint who that would be, and they've had more than enough time.
I'd take him, boys. So would you. I'd walk her coals taking that boy back. I mean,
of course.
When he signed for Arsenal, I was gutted. I think, to be honest with you, I think he was the last truly world-class player Celtic have had. He was world-class. I don't care when he says there wasn't a better left-back at his age group when he left Celtic. He was Arsenal captain material for a good season and a half there before you signed better players and whatever. But we've had a world-class player before or since, mate. I'm talking about genuine world-class. I'm not talking about Hatate for 4 months. I'm talking this guy was class, boys. He really was. I'd take him back in a heartbeat.
I've got this from Maestro95, and he says, does spending big money on players guarantee success? Ask the old Rangers, which I just can't. I don't like that argument, Maestro, because I think it's so irrelevant to anything we're discussing. I mean, no one is advocating Celtic to spend that far beyond their means that they get liquidated. But what I do think is a fair argument, when you say spending big money, I think, Maestro, we have to quantify what we're now saying is big money, because Celtic are spending less on transfer fees now than they were 24 years ago. And before people say Martin O'Neill's era took us into, I think it was about 15 million debt, people forget since then it was Umbro that made the kits back then on minimal terms. It's now Adidas on a massive deal. Dapabet, a £25 million sponsorship deal. Season tickets have obviously went up for 23 years ago by a crazy amount of percent. Far more revenue. Champions League income compared with what it was in 2000, 2001, 2002, that era, is tenfold more. So if we could back then only go into 15, 16 million debt with £6 million players in up front, in midfield, and then you look at wages, Henrik 40, Lenny 30, Hartson probably 20, 30, Sutton would have been 30. If you look at that, that debt wouldn't exist in the modern day with all the other revenue streams being so much higher than what they used to be. So what do we mean by big money? Because for me right now, spending less than what we did 24 years ago on players, a jump up from that, mate, is just to get back to where we were 24 years ago. Let's be real here. We signed players for half the fees we were back then. So to me, when we look at when we mention big money, does it guarantee success? No. But it depends what you want to describe as big money. I think it's time we step into 2024 here and accept that Celtic were at no point when they were spending higher wages, etc., in any point of going bankrupt or anything like that. Back then, right now, Celtic's turnover is far higher. Its commercial streams are far higher, and its prize money in Europe is far, far, far higher than it was. Yet we spend far less now on wages, far less now on transfer fees. Make it make sense.
I think that's the type of fan, and I don't mean personally that the board love policy. They give you reasons why Celtic can't progress rather than reasons why they can. You know what I mean? Then listen, let's be honest. I mean, if we go and spent, if we spent £50 million on a striker, it wouldn't even dent the bank. We've got £100 million plus in that bank just now. It wouldn't even touch the bank. They wouldn't need to pay half the groundsman. We're asking for somebody who's maybe at that level above for the 8, 9, 10 million. Is that too much to ask for? Just quickly, Rangers didn't get liquidated because they spent too much money. Rangers were liquidated because of the banks called in their debts because the bank went bust. Then a new bank took over, and they got asked why this company had all this overdraft, and that led to them getting the overdraft facility withdrawn. It led to the HMRC chopping in and getting their money back after them, and Artrati investors pulled out. Blah blah blah. They didn't go like that to them one day. We spent too much money. We're going to bust you. There's a lot of myths about this. Seems a lot of myths about Celtics.
I think it's a lazy argument as well. When we're talking about Celtic, when we're talking about Celtic in 2024, Mark, going into their third Champions League group stage campaign, the largest one ever, an 8-game campaign this time around, and we want to revert to Rangers transfer policy, in the 90s, the early 2000s. So it's okay to revert to that in a negative way, but we're not allowed to look at how Celtic could afford it back at that exact same period. We're able to afford players we're now told we can't. It's the exact same period, so it makes no sense. We can't pick and choose what bits of history we want to go back to and be consistent at the same time, because if you're picking and choosing, that means it's to suit an argument. I mean, for me, when I look at Celtic's potential right now to go to the next level, I can't believe I think the next level is paying a couple of Chris Sutton fees from 24 years ago. And that is generally now what I think is our next. I'd be excited by a couple of 6 million players, mate. I think fans get nervous by it. I genuinely think now we've been conditioned over that. Now I'd speak about that. I think we've been conditioned over that long a period now that fans now actually get the shits about us spending £6 million on a footballer in 2024 with nearly 100 million in the bank, and potentially it will be.
More than that, boys. 150 by the time the season starts. You better believe it.
I don't understand it. Before I come to you, Judge, I've enjoyed your views tonight as well. General Zod comes in, he says, Celtic fans need to stop celebrating finances like a trophy. We slag Sevco for this, but the second part I'm not really bothered about. But the finances like a trophy is so pointless when those finances aren't then reinvested in the product in the park. And that is the whole point of a football club, not to have, a balance sheet trophy. And then the flip side is, once you start celebrating it like a trophy, you start getting cautious in your own mind, even as a fan. Don't know about that. £6 million. Oh, it's not even your money. Like, don't worry about it, mate. Like, there's more than enough there. We need to start getting a wee bit of our balls back now and start being a wee bit more aggressive. I think there's been far too much caution. I think it's cost us Champions League qualifications over the last 20 years that you wouldn't believe. I think it's cost us money then in that regard, which is ironic. And I think because it's went on that long, this Celtic austerity, I don't mean to do that in a political term, but what they've done with the first team is actually conditioned now supporters of all generations to start getting squeaky bum time when they start seeing fees a quarter of a century ago we could afford. Trying to spend it now and we get a wee bit, I don't know. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. And it's not about the fee, it's about the quality of player. And if you genuinely think you'll sign 9 £2 million players and you'll get a good ratio of them sticking and make it in the first team, you have to get real. You have to get real. The chances are only going to be higher by, as I say, you get back to spending fees you were a quarter of a century ago.
Oh, spot on. I mean, we spent £4.5 million in 1994 in Philadelphia. And I mean, as a folk, I mean, I don't understand how we could, see if we were sitting just breaking even, I can see a wee bit of caution there, but I mean, with £80 million in the bank before the Champions League season ticket, Managerial money, you're talking maybe 150 million. That's not daft. That is probably roughly what we've got in the bank if you're adding it up, right? And by the way, that's on top of our operating costs, because this is our profit just now. You know what I mean? And there's folk worried about spending £5 million. See, my folk I've seen saying, would you spend £5 million either? No, the money. The question is, would you sign either? No, would you spend? The question is, would you sign either? And I don't think
it's a fantastic point, because I think that's how the question's changed, isn't it, over the last couple of decades?
Rangers fans when they say that. I mean,
but I think you're right. I think that's part of the conditioning I'm maybe referring to.
Well,
where we ask, would you spend something on this player, as opposed to, would you sign Ida? Do you think Ida improves the squad? Let us deal with it. Do you know what I mean?
Let the bean counters worry about how much it costs. The question should always be, would you sign him? Is it good enough? The money value is probably, I dare say, most players that we're interested in, we wouldn't be talking to them unless we can afford them anyway. So the only question should be, would you sign him? And see, when folks start hitting it with phrases like that, and I don't mean any disrespect to the guy here, but they're exactly the fans that I hope don't get a voice at Celtic Park. Not because I think their voice is less valid than mine and yours voices, but it's getting the Rangers, it's getting the Celtic board that out. You know what I mean? It's like, you need to be cautious. Cautious about what? If we go and spend £40 million this summer, and that would be like a third and a quarter of the money we've got spare in the bank. Can you imagine? That would be like Man City spending £1 billion. You know what I mean? Look, the money's there, boys. I mean, we're getting ourselves in no debt, no financial pressure. We're spending money we've got sitting in the top drawer.
Mark, let's see, when we look at this, it's very lopsided at Celtic compared to, I would guess, 90% of football clubs. Their goal is to break even and have the best possible product on the park. That goes even if you look within our own league. St Johnstone, for example, they will take risks to make sure they break even to get the best team they possibly can together. Now, that team we might look at and laugh and think, oh, they're fucking shite. But the point of the matter is, the focal point of any profit that they have is then put on to the playing staff in general, and the management and coaching staff, of course, as well. So when we look at what Celtic do, it's so different. It's so unique to what other clubs do. And I'm not convinced when I look at how Celtic's performed in Europe over the last 20 odd years that it's necessarily working. Now, I want to see, first and foremost, the best version of Celtic on the park, the best version of Celtic in the dugout, the best version of Celtic as an atmosphere in the stadium. And then I would like to think the books are sitting in the black. That's all.
That's the last.
That's the point I'm making. And you're looking at it going, and it's safe. This is way beyond safe. Way beyond safe. It's way beyond the realms of a club that's you would think was in some sort of financial concern, ongoing worry about, as I say, record revenue streams, record prize money for Europe, record transfer sales on the reg, by the way, and that'll happen again this summer with Matt O'Reilly. We need to start looking at all this and going, we can't have it, our cake and eat it, or the bold can't have their cake and eat it. We have to look at this realistically and go, what do other clubs do to start progressing? And how do clubs, for example, like a Brighton, go into the Premier League and start competing, and then within a few years start actually making it top 10 regularly as well? It's because of the percentage of what they're willing to invest in the playing staff of the revenue. Now, it's regardless of the values that I'm talking about here. It's about the willingness and the ambition and the aggression and what you want to do for the first team that is required, that Celtic are a million miles away from. And my biggest concern is that we'll see that same movie again this summer. And that is a worry for me. And I was not talking like this, by the way, last summer, as you know only too well. I was convinced there had been a turning of the tide to the appointment of Rodgers. Such would his wages be. I thought, wow, that'll be mirrored within some of the recruitments that come in. It wasn't. And now this leaves me, even though we're almost double the cash reserves this summer. And yet I'm less confident of proper investment in the playing staff than I was this time last year. I don't know many fans of many clubs that have that.
No, you've been conditioned. That's the word. You've been conditioned to. I think when you scale back people's ambitions, slowly but surely they become a wee bit dejected and demoralised with it all. And that's what's happening, boys. Like we're now sitting kind of accepting that we might get shafted with the hope we don't. With the hope we don't. It should be the hope we're going to. It should be all a bit, boys. We know that they've got the money and. I was in my head there thinking. I think during the COVID season, which was Armageddon in football terms, we made a small profit that season, boys. So we could afford not to sell one jersey to have our bank's accounts frozen for the full season and still make it through to the other side. So I don't understand why there's any pressure on the board not to improve the squad. I still think we'll make a profit. I think if we sell O'Reilly, we'll make a profit. Which is bonkers and all. We let that money in the bank, we're going to make a profit again. And I don't want. I mean, with Connor on the chat yesterday, like the first thing we spoke about O'Reilly was, oh, we might get more money for him now. I can't remember why we were talking about O'Reilly, and it was like, oh, I'm like, well, who cares how much money? I said before, I think it was 2 years ago, somebody gave us £100 million and told us just to keep it. We wouldn't spend it anyway. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money we get for O'Reilly. It's just going to make me and you more angry. For every £1 million we get to pay O'Reilly's transfer fee, it's going to make us a wee bit more angry each time we don't spend it. So this trophy we all get for telling the Rangers fans we've got loads of money, they must laugh at us, boys, because I said before, they've got a board of directors who would do everything in their power to make Rangers successful, whereas we got a board of directors who would do not enough in their power to at least give the manager a fighting chance. I mean, last season, that team should not have won a league title. You know what I mean? That what he was given should not have won a exactly.
I'm going to read that one out, Mark, because
I can read it when you go.
I'm going to read it out just because I know a lot of people listen to it on the old Spotify and all that stuff. I think Alex is spot on. She's came in with a brilliant point here. The English clubs don't have money as such. They have assets, they have brand, not cold hard cash like Celtic are now sitting on. And the cold hard cash that Celtic have, they don't spend, and yet the English clubs that are basing it on future revenues, incomes if we stay up, they will do that to dine at the top table. Now, their top table for all these clubs is the EPL. I get that. Our top table is the Champions League. I want us to be in it every year. Why is it this year, for example, the last year of guaranteed group football? Because we have not, and we need to take ownership of it, not done fuck all that coefficient, yet have all the tools, way more tools in the leagues that we find ourselves falling behind. Celtic have far more tools to have got that coefficient up. So this is now what happens. This is the aftermath of your lack of ambition. This is the aftermath of a negative attitude to spending any sort of realistic money. What actually happens is Europe gets further away and gets trickier to qualify for. And do you know what? There's a bit of me that just happens to think they loved having that excuse about the playoff route as being their buffer. And that might just be a fantastic situation for them to find themselves in that, well, we had to go canny because, the playoff route's tricky. They didn't change. They didn't move the goalpost whatsoever, other strategy when it came to guaranteed group football. So don't let them fool you again when next year we're going into a tie against, I don't know, some sort of team from Romania or something like that, and we're losing 2-0 away from home without any real investment. Don't let them fool you again that it's because of the playoff route. We had 3 years of guaranteed group stage football. They didn't change then either. All right? So once bitten, twice shy and all that carry on. I just feel like this summer, firstly, if it is going to change, and as I say, I'll reiterate it, Mark, it's hope above belief. But this is where Brendan Rodgers has to find these bollocks this time around. And I hope his ego gets in the road this time around. I hope it does become less Brendan light and Brendan of old. And he goes, I ain't getting that type of that lot again. They're shite. And yeah, it was, a lone guy for Norwich that kind of was the catalyst in that second half of the season to get us over the line because of your recruitment last summer. I ain't doing it again. And that's up to him, by the way, as a 60 grand a week manager of Celtic, to put that pressure on that board. And I'm hoping for a different Brendan this summer as well.
Well, spot on. I mean, I hope so too. I think that's why January was so quiet. I think Rodgers just knocked back all the options he was given. I think he was just saying no. He was probably getting players brought to him that were never good enough. And I thought maybe I think it was Kuhn and Ita that came in January. And I think they probably want to that he's okay because the rest of them will be shit. And you look at Ange Tay. I mean, Ange's last day, his first window, he brought in Jackie Marcus, Jota and Carter Vickers. That's the league. That was your league title that season. They three were the catalyst to win that league that season.
Yep.
Kyogo played his part, and so did Joe Hart. So did there was more Tate than just they three. But that was the defining signatures that won us a league title, right? And you look at, and that, by the way, Carter Vickers was at 11:59. We don't know what happened. They said they got a phone call. His move fell through for Bournemouth, whatever it was. That wasn't so the forward planning isn't there, boys. And no wonder. I hope you're right. I'm glad that you've not totally given up when you've got a wee bit of hope. I think that's fair. I mean, I think you should always have a wee bit of hope. I've just the ground me doing that much, boys. So there's nothing left to me.
So I want your take then, just on that, Mark. I'm not trying to cut you off in a bad way. I'm thinking of the Rodgers sort of conundrum that I brought in here because I know obviously I went all in. You know the phrase. Because Rodgers was back, I was convinced that was the sign. So I want your take on it this time around. He is surely not going to accept a summer the same again. And if he does, by the way, more fool him. And the less empathetic you then get next season, if performances are a bit languid and stale and results maybe go against us, he'll have only shortened his own leash by doing that. And if any manager worth their salt has been in the game as long as he has now as a head coach, I can't help but think, Mark, that he is going to be more forceful this summer. Does that get the message across? I ain't so sure, but he's definitely got to, and will do, I'm sure of it, be more forceful and direct in his demands in this summer transfer window.
Well, I think he's got the tools to do it. I mean, he's got the experience and he's got the buy-in with the fans now. I think the squad, the players love him. He's got the money in the bank, so he's got all the arguments for the strengthening. I think when you're going against a brick wall, when you're trying to change the club's philosophy, boys, I think he will be. I think he will be confident in his own mind that he'll get that next level of players, and he's mentioned it time after time. But boys, it's still the same board that made him walk the last time. It's still the same setup. You know what I mean? I think now Rodgers, he can't walk away this time now. I think that statement he said something about the 3 years, I'll be here for 3 years. I think he's backed himself into a corner. I think he's maybe made an ass of himself that one. I think he could have maybe he would take that back if he could have.
But he still would take it back. Would he not take it back though? Still, see if you actually think about it. If he were to go, then he'll go fuck it. So what I said?
I think he would have to.
I wouldn't mind that attitude, to be honest.
I think he would have to. I don't think he could just quit on a Saturday morning. I think it would have to be a long process of interviews and really displaying his displeasure with the club and all the rest of it. I think it'd have to be set up a wee bit better than just going like on a Tuesday morning or Saturday morning. I'm away now. I think he could do that cleverly. And we're not suggesting that's going to happen, but I just definitely think that he's got all the tools. I mean, he's got every card you could want to play. He's got in his hands. But there's somebody holding the table and they're whipping it away when he's about to play it down, he play his card down.
Yeah.
Aye, I mean, and I don't know if
it's got to frustrate him though, eh? Any manager, forget it's Brendan. Any manager looking at that, Mark, they're going to be, come on. Like,
well, look at this way. I think Rodgers cares about the under 10s and under 12s. I think he looks at Celtic as a club and he's trying to build something. I think he's been given zero say in bringing in Johnny Hayes. I think he's been given zero say in bringing in the next head of recruitment. That's my honest opinion. I think he'll be given zero say probably on the next squad players. See the under 21s youth players. He probably will not buy them either. They'll be bought by the club. You know what I mean? And that's just it's underneath him. And I think we all know the reason why Andrew was successful was because the club was in that much of a mess that he had to do everything by himself. See if Rodgers gets that scenario where he can look at everything himself. I think we will get better very quickly. I still think the restrictions are still there. I think his salary, his wage budget for his first spell and his top transfer budget for his last spell, they'll still be the same numbers. It'll still be you're going in the 16 to 21 grand a week category as your top earners.
Yeah,
that'll still be the same just now. Don't. And that's 8. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, fucking hell.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned earlier on about the EPL have got the promise of cash. We've already got the cash, right? It's the equivalent of them having games in hand, but us already won them. And yet our fan base and our board won't accumulate that success we've got, the money we've made through that success and build to the next level. I think the board, I mean, you look at the board or even the manager sometimes, but when they mention Europe, they sit back in their chair and fix their suit, and their body language tells you that Europe's a bonus for them. Just getting there's enough for them. You know what I mean? There's no ambitions there, and this is they genuinely believe that we've got no chance. We've got no chance whatsoever. So why should we spend £9 million if we can get a guy to beat Hearts for £4 million? And that is their mindset. I still believe.
Do you know what though?
They'll think last year was their hard work fruition with our hard work, boys. And last year was an outstanding manager who at times we all wanted to sack. Let's be honest, because it's crystal fine. Outstanding manager with a lackluster squad who just pulled out the bag. That's all it was. There was no hard work with the recruitment team that paid out.
No, definitely not. See, the thing is that you're saying about, the European sort of attitude, if you like, then they can't be as money driven then as we think, or it's just stupidity. Now these guys must know business. Like they must know how business works. I mean, like, let's be real here. Like Europe's your golden goose way to make money. But not just that. If you were ever to ask them one question, and like you say there, well, we can't compete in Europe, so why spend it? I think you can only ask them one question. What's the benefit of sitting on all that money for Celtic?
Hmm.
No,
That's a lot
I know
of
what
it,
you
isn't it?
thought I was going to say. I wasn't going to leave it just closed like that. But
Sorry.
what's the benefit to Celtic having all that money sitting there?
I know.
And leave them with that.
Well, Lowell said it in his statement. He says we all know the pitfalls of storing cash. That was his last statement he released to the fans after the January window. Remember, because we were all raging about the January window, it was like a kind of appeasement. We're sorry without saying sorry, sort of thing. And so, in their own words, they don't want to be storing too much cash. And there's even more cash now than there was. We've probably got our wage budget. Our wage budget is probably what, £50 million, £55 million. So we've got roughly 200% of our yearly costs sitting in the bank as spare cash before the season starts.
Yeah, if I'm not right, in the whole of the SPFL, Mark, out of revenue, Celtic were the least they spent on wages out of the whole 12 clubs.
Or percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise, of course.
It's like Celtic
revenue
is
is
known
again.
at FFP.
These are anomalies with Celtic that I don't understand. I was saying earlier, over 90% of other clubs or whatever. I just don't understand this model. It's so strange that that's so far from playing it safe, being responsible. That's so far away from that. There is such middle ground to work with, and unfortunately, some elements of our sport are scared to even enter that grey area.
Oh, they will.
They see it going straight to the red, and I don't get it. You look at some of the stats; they're damning on what Celtic try and do. Damn it! I'll give you another example. I'm pretty sure in the Champions League, lowest revenue to wages ratio.
It's terrible, mate. It's terrible. You mentioned that the board you would try to speculate to accumulate because the rewards are so much more. I think they'd rather have £5 than the chance of 12. They'd
So
rather
we
have
go
that
back to it.
safety. They'd rather have the £5
You're
safe
right.
rather than they would. And see, at the end of the day, it's even when Lovell retires and so all these bankers and all the rest of it, they'll say that they won 18 titles and all the rest of it. What a CV that is. What a CV, but there's a lot more markets. It's a lot more to it than just the numbers, boys. I mean,
I think there was a lot of easier competition over that period as well that we like to.
We should have 24 in a row. We shouldn't have gave Art McLeish a treble. We shouldn't have gave him a double. We shouldn't have gave Walter Smith one of his last legs 3 in a row, and we shouldn't have gave Steven Gerrard a title. We just shouldn't have. And that's just this century. I mean, that's the last 20 odd years. But then he build on Wim Janssen's team. I still, just off piste here, I still say we were a keeper away if he stopped him 7 in a row. I think we would have stopped 7 if we had a good keeper. We had Gordon Marshall, we had Di Canio, Cadet, Andy Tom, Alan Stubbs, Tosh McKinley, Phil O'Donnell, Tom Boyd was brilliant at that point. We had John Collins, who was just about to go behind the left yet. We had outstanding players, even compared to the Rangers team, we had outstanding players. Paul McStay, forgot to mention him, and with a keeper who couldn't get a game for Hearts reserves. And the board at the time didn't think they should spend £2 million and get a keeper. So, and that's how we could have stopped 9 in a row, and we refused to do it. You know what I mean? And I think we've got the same board. Well, sorry, the same mindset where we'll know. Because I'm no fans. This is what people don't realise. Lowell's a big Celtic fan. I'm pretty sure here, and I'm pretty sure there's Celtic fans dotted over that board. But they don't see Celtic as a passion. They see Celtic as a job now, boys. They would sell any player in that park if it meant fiscally a good bit of business. Whereas me and you would rather Celtic broke even and kept the best players on the park. And I don't expect us to gamble.
Yeah.
See, you get money. No point sitting in a pot of gold, boys. Right? When the house is fondling about you, because there's no point doing it. It's like that wee cartoon used to get where the wee guys get a big vault. It's just full of gold coins. And he used to get and count them. I think it was called something Duckula. It was a wee duck. You know, top it. That's what it's like. We might open the door and count all the gold coins, but our own fan base, the minute we sign a player, saying, "Oh, how much is it worth?" And
Yeah,
I just told the story. Who cares about the money?
yeah.
Until they do a bonus sharing scheme and start giving me back money at the end of the season for how much money they make, I will not care how much money Celtic have got as long as they can pay the bills.
Yeah. No, I think it's been an interesting chat tonight. I think probably lots of it's resonated with some fans. I think others will still be hiding behind the couch at the thought of us spending 20, 25 years ago transfer fees and wages. But that's what it's all about. In the summer, there's going to be more debates like this on the bus. There's no two ways about it, as frustrations potentially will grow. As I say, I live in hope, not belief, that it will be a different type of summer window. It's hope this time, though, not a genuine belief, and I've got to be honest on that. And that's not me trying to sit on both sides of the fence. I mean, if you ask me outright, do I think Celtic will do what I thought they would last summer? The answer this time around is no. But I hope, and my hope again, ironically, is based on the same reason I had belief last summer, and that's the manager. I just think he needs to be more forceful. Anyway, Judge, that's been way over an hour, mate. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Really enjoyed the chat. Thanks to everyone that was really, really live. 182 live right now. We really appreciate it. And Guy Fawkes has joined us. Yes.
I'm back.
Amazing.
Don't pay your poll tax.
And on that note, keep your eyes on the board. See you later, Mark.